to impose our form of government on anyone else.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are also broadcasting live on social media, and this show is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association. I'm your host, Ryan Stacey. I'm a licensed private investigator, and as the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association, I use my investigative skills to dive headfirst into the hidden mysteries of UFOs, paranormal activity, and consciousness phenomena. Sorry there. I just heard some footsteps. I was just wondering what's going on. There's my dog there. All right. So thank you for tuning in. Last week's episode, we talked about some cases. I'm going to continue talking about some cases. Say hello if you're here. Hi, Lisa. I see you. But first, we need, I guess, Tessa News.
Tessa News and Updates.
Okay, so the things that are really new on Tessa right now aren't too much. We have fixed that video glitch that was on the website, just so you know. So now it's showing current videos as they're playing. Before it wasn't doing that. It was 8 weeks behind. We are working on some articles. I am still finishing the rebrand of my books. So my books finally have been approved as far as I know. And then I'll be announcing that soon. It's called, normally it's called the Canadian Current Event Survey. That's what it was. Let me just show you this picture here. Okay. I've now rebranded to be called Encounters from the North. All right. Which is going to be a little more easier to find and whatnot. So I've changed the title, changed the pages. The material in these books are still the same, but the new book is going to have a new cover. EA, Experiencers Anonymous. For those of you are interested in that program, it is coming back. Experiencers Anonymous. So if you go to Experiencers on our website, click on Experiencers Anonymous here. I'll show you the little link, and I'll put that in here. It is coming back at the end of August. It's going to be the last Wednesday of each month. You will have to sign up for it. We're going to limit the amount of people in there so there's enough space for everyone to talk about their experiences. So we're just working out those details. I put the link in the comment there, so there's an update on Tessa. And for EA, and I'm pretty sure that's it, other than the podcast tomorrow night with Danny Whitson. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show. And I guess the only updates in conspiracy land is this Trump stuff. So for those of you who's following that, there's a lot of crap going on right now around that. So I'm with you. My thoughts are with everybody who's going through that right now. But we gotta wait and see what happens here. Okay, so last week we talked about some cases on the visual evidence database, and I believe we're going to be talking about these black-eyed children cases, because we talked about that last week. So let me just uncheck these so I can see what's on the map. I haven't updated the map yet. I've been busy. Had some painters here for a while, and they aren't doing a good enough job, and I've been dealing with that. With fun of contractors. Declassified event, schools, visitation, government buildings. All right, so yeah, should be fine there. Okay, so we'll zoom in here and find out where we are. Is that it there? Nope, we did that one. Military base. Actually, we could do that one too. But I think the two I really want to talk about are these ones right here. Yeah, it's these beings observed. But I don't want to miss out on anything either. So let's give these two UFO things. We'll do these two UFO ones at the end if there's enough time. So I'm going to start with these beings observed. Okay. If you guys have any questions or any feedback, let me know. All right, so we're going to get into beings observed.
Beings observed, intent unknown.
All right, so these two cases, 31 and 32, are from the same experiencer, and they happened inside where they were living at the time, somewhere in this area. It's not the exact location, of course, because we need to protect that. But it's interesting. I just want to see which one happened, because I think it happened one night before the other. So 2018, November 13th, November 30th. Okay, so a week apart. So this one is the first one. So we'll do 32, 31, November 30th, November 23rd. Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so this one? Yeah, this one. All right, everybody. Let me just zoom in here. I'm still having issues with the sound on these videos. I was told it was working. Last week I was told it wasn't working. So I'm gonna just read these as I go through. So I'm gonna put this case in the comments for anybody that wants to pick this up on a replay for later. Okay, so this particular case is labeled UPR2019 from 2019, case number 32, beings observed, humanoid bipedal. The event occurred in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, on November 23rd, 2018. Okay, this is an encounter with a black-eyed entity, and I'll just play this little video here, and I'll just comment for those on radio. So, okay. So this one says, around November 23rd, 2018, in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, an experiencer reported seeing this young boy staring at her midsection. All right. Interesting black eyes we got to see here. This blue figure, this long nose, pale skin, those on radio. Then So this boy had no hair, a large head, and large black eyes. So we have the original, yeah. So this is the original drawing here. I'll read that when we scroll down. Okay. And then experiencer remembers passing out after asking the boy its intentions. Okay. So have you seen this? If you've seen this, let us know. All right. So the experiencer says, found myself looking at roughly 12-year-old boy. I felt as if I was lying down. He was staring at my midsection. I felt like I had no clothes on. I was studying his face. A bit strange, huge, round black eyes. I said, "What do you want?" He snapped his head towards me, and all I saw were these black eyes getting closer. I'm out. I'm out black. So that's the scenario that happened, okay? So the original evidence here, this image, was provided by the witness. We use this to recreate it. I add the colors and whatnot. So the boy, so no hair, eyebrows, eyelids, very wide head and round, bigger than human head, slight nose and mouth, but human-like huge black eyes, was wearing a dark blue shirt. That's all I recall. Their white, bright room with nothing in it that I recall. I see an opening in the room with no door, seems large and sterile. About a feet and heavy husky. I think that might be a foot. About a foot and heavy husky build. Oh, about 4 feet. Pardon me. I'm reading somebody else's writing. And heavy husky build, 65 to 80 pounds. Head to big for body size. So that's the opinion of the witness. All right. Have any of you guys seen this? Let me know in the comments. So moving further. And again, the actual notes and case files of everything for these cases are in those reports on our data section. Investigated by myself. This is part of the Elder Spectrum Experiencer report. This person's already in the survey. This person wanted us to investigate and report. Their ID number is 008. This is a female. Blood type is unknown. Eye color is unknown. Age at the event was 57. Okay, a little bit of age there to have that maturity. Number of witnesses, 1. So it's only her who witnessed it. She had a positive feeling, and there were no injuries. That's good. The event date was 11/23, so November 23, 2018. And then the report date was about approximately a year later. Time of the event was 2:30 p.m. And that was in Eastern time zone. And she says it lasted about 15 minutes. Okay, happened during the day. Ongoing. So when we have ongoing, that means there's continual activity with this same being. Okay, or being similar to it. Number of objects is 1. There was only 1 being seen. Person has previously reported. That's the other one I'm going to show. And then there was no third-party involvement. Analogical evidence is the only evidence we have, which is a drawing. So we made that a level 3. And it's been categorized as beings observed. Type is humanoid, type 1. So when we go to our ultraspectral classification system, I'll tell you what that type is. Should have this memorized. I made the damn thing. Type 1 for beings observed. I think it's bipedal. Am I right? Let's see. Yeah, evidence scale 3 is fair. Drawing only. Beings observed, type 1. Yeah, humanoid type 1, bipedal. Yeah, bipedal. Okay. Extreme close experience. So that would be less than 500 feet, I believe. Let's fact check that one with myself here. Remote experience, mental experience, no. Yeah, less than 100 feet for extreme close experience. It was uninvited. Evidence was level 2, and that's because we weren't able to get anything more than a drawing out of this particular witness, and the categories are here. All right, black-eyed children is what we're talking about today. Any of you guys who've seen a black-eyed child, let me know. Make a report. We can compare this stuff. Okay, so moving on, 2019-0031, same experiencer, all right? Different black-eyed child wearing something different. Okay, so I'm just going to share this information with you, and then we can just have a conversation about that. So, all right. I'm just queuing this up for those listening on radio. Okay, so around November 30th, 2018, in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, an experiencer reported seeing this young female sitting on the edge of her bed by her head. So here's the original drawing. This being had short straw-like blonde hair. It was wearing camo-colored pajamas. Okay, so then again, we're asking if you've seen anything like this. Any of these details are important to you, you let me know. What did we say here? The experiencer remembers the being looking at her. The eyes were large and black. Okay. So this witness statement. I was laying down and I could see a young female sitting on something close to my head. I looked at her knowing how strange she looked. I could only describe her as a pixie girl. Straw-like short, dirty blonde hair and crabby pajama-like clothes. Her elbows on her knees and her head in her hands. I said, "What do you want?" She quickly looked at me and all I saw were her eyes coming towards me out black. So she's emphasizing that she blacked out. This image here is the drawing. So the girl sitting on the table that I had a footrest or bar. At first I saw her side profile, head in her hands, thick straw-like dirty blonde hair, messy wearing camel-colored pajamas, two-piece or long johns, slight build, thin, very thin and bored or sad looking. Can't remember the hands or feet. I think barefoot, big round eyes, thin long nose, pixie girl, forest nymph, 80 pounds, maybe 5 feet tall. As soon as I said, "What do you want?" They snapped their heads to look at me and then just eyes at first. And as they got closer, everything was black and just eyes. Okay. So this experiencer data is going to be the same up until a certain part, so same age because it was only a week or so later. Still feels it's positive, despite how ominous that sounds. Okay. No injuries, which is good. Roughly around the same time. I think a half-hour difference from the day before. Previously reported all this information is the same. Still analogical, still fair, still beings observed. All that stuff is still the same. What's interesting about this, though, is I don't know. I think those are my only black-eyed children for right now. I do have other few cases that fit in that category. Oh yeah, that one. Ooh, this guy here. We'll get to that one soon. That one's a interesting case. All right, so let's break this down because this is the skeptical sleuth. And you got to remember, so when we classify these cases, it's because we don't know what it is. We try to collect enough information to determine whether or not the witness is telling the truth. But then we get these like features that are unusual. And because they're unusual, and we don't have a logical explanation for it, then we have to classify it as unknown or unresolved or unidentified. Pardon me. But that doesn't mean we can't figure it out at a later time. Okay. A lot of these things that the witness will say, we need to break down and challenge that. So just because they say there's no hair or eyebrows and eyelids doesn't mean they didn't have them. Perhaps they didn't see that. Okay. But we also don't want to make those assumptions. So when somebody else makes a report, they might remember certain details. Everybody makes a different assessment, has a different perspective. Okay, if those of you in law enforcement or security or investigations know that when you have a crisis, the first thing you have to do is make it safe, de-escalate the situation, have everybody calm down. Then ask your questions, right, while you're documenting everything. And when you talk to every single witness who like, let's talk about this Trump thing for an example, in real time. There's so many different pieces of video evidence to show different perspectives. There's lots of opinions on the internet about, whether this was staged or legitimate and all these other things, blah, blah, blah. Everybody sees it from a different perspective based on what they saw, what they recorded. And those who see the video have their own judgments and interpretations on that. We have to remember not to judge like that. Okay. especially with something as serious as this. Kenneth Bird, I see you liked. Thank you for tuning in. Say hello if you're here. So, things that give me a reference point to that we want to compare to, like clothing. Okay, it's important. It's clothing. Is the color blue important? Maybe. The color could be wrong. It could be dark blue. It could be light blue. It could be a blue. It might be green if they're colorblind. But the main contributing factor in this is they were wearing clothing. Okay. Opening the room with no door seems large and sterile. So seems large and sterile. So she's unsure. About 4 feet in heavy husky build, 65 to 80 pounds. So these are guesses based on what she observed. Okay. And then with the girl, similar situation here. Sitting on the table that had a footrest of the bar. At first, I saw her side profile. Head in her hands, thick straw-like dirty blonde hair. Okay, so that's more of the specific type of hair that she saw. It's a different style, which is different. This one has hair, the other one does not. But what's common between these two are these eyes. So even if this information between both of them has been forgotten or exaggerated, or the blanks were kind of filled in after time has gone by, these eyes are very consistent, which is why the archetype black-eyed child was used to subcategorize these. But in the ultra-spectrum classification system, this is simply a bipedal humanoid being that was observed. Okay, if you want to call it a black-eyed children because of that phenomenon, you fill your boots. I'm not ready to confirm that that's what this is based on the drawing, but it fits. Okay, and we'll take a look. So even for a quick reference on that, black-eyed children. For those of you who aren't familiar with this phenomenon, this is an artist rendition here of what it would look like. These are legitimate, just normal eyes that have been black. You see this in Supernatural with the demons and things like that. How much time we got? Well, maybe we can get into this, do the history lesson of this. Let me read this real quick for those who were listening on the radio. So black-eyed children or black-eyed kids in American contemporary legend are paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages 6 and 16. With pale skin and black eyes, were reportedly seen hitchhiking or begging or encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. So based on reading that, that's where we come to the conclusion that these particular beings, based on the explanation, fit the bill. But it still could be wrong. And we also don't know if the experiencer wants it to be this and is comparing it to it, because the experiencer would have to know what black-eyed children are to be able to compare it to it as well. And we need to be careful with that. Okay. So history. While tabloid coverage of these creatures have claimed that tales of black-eyed children have existed since the 1980s, so that's a recent discovery, recent phenomenon. Most sources indicate that the legend originated from 1996, still early. Postings written by Texas reporter Brian Bethel on the ghost-related mailing list, relating 2 alleged encounters with black-eyed kids. Bethel describes encountering 2 such children in Abilene, Texas in 1996, and claims that a second person had a similar unrelated encounter in Portland, Oregon. Bethel's stories have become regarded as classic examples of creepypasta. So creepypasta is a horror-related legend which has been shared around the internet. The term creepypasta has since become a catch-all term for any horror content posted on the internet. This image here kind of looks like that Slender Man, if you guys have seen that. Okay, and gained such popularity that he published a FAQ just to keep up with the demand for more info about the new urban legend. Sorry, the alarm's going on. In 2012, Brian Bethel told his story on reality TV series Monsters and Mysteries in America. All right, already reading this, I'm starting to get a hunch here that this might be made up. Who knows? He wrote a follow-up article in the Abilene Reporter News describing his experience and maintaining his belief that it was legitimate. In 2012, the horror film Black Eyed Kids was produced with Kickstarter funding. All right, so here's the film. Let's see what that looks like. All right, The Haunting of Sunshine Girl. Interesting. That kind of sounds like, that does not sound like what the title entails. Was produced with Kickstarter funding. This director commented that the creepy children were an urban legend that's been floating around on the internet for years now. I always thought it was fascinating. 2013 episode of MSN Weekly Strange, the feature reports of black-eyed children, is thought to have helped spread the legend on the internet. Now, this is possible, but does that mean that this experiencer didn't see that? Okay, is it an urban legend or is it real? Okay, we have to believe and accept the possibility that they saw something. And those who, even this individual here could be telling the truth. Maybe he had an experience and then he created this elaborate thing here. What came first, right? So during 1 week in September 2014, the tabloid Daily Star ran three sensationalistic front page stories about alleged sightings of black-eyed children connected to the sale of supposedly haunted pub in Staffordshire. The paper claimed a shock rise in sightings around the world. Alleged sightings were taken seriously by ghost hunters. I don't like ghost hunters. I don't like that term. You don't hunt the ghost unless you intend to harm it. It's like hunting for game. Some of whom believe black-eyed children to be extraterrestrials, vampires, or ghosts. Okay, so now we have three different types, which is why it's important to classify these as beings observed and not give them this archetypical label of black-eyed children, because they could be ghosts. They could be extraterrestrials. But what doesn't change is the fact that it's a being. It exists in some dimension, whether it's in the conscious state or the three-dimensional. So she was in bed. It's possible she was dreaming. It was possible she was halfway between being awake and being asleep. It's possible that those things happen. But even if it happened in the mind, where is it created from? Right? A lot of consciousness activity can't be explained, but it's all there. So there's a lot of things to consider. I can't debunk this. I can't dismiss it because there's not enough information to conclude. Taking this information at face value, whether she's awake or sleeping, it begs the question as to why these this experience exists. Hey, Chris, I see you. Hey, thanks for saying hello. I lost my train of thought here. I'm just kind of off the cuff here. And so extraterrestrials. Could it be an extraterrestrial? Well, there's not enough evidence to show where it came from. Could be an interdimensional being. That information isn't available to the case. And we can't make that assumption. If we get more cases where other people think it's extraterrestrial because it has features and things like that, then we can start making those assumptions. But until then, it's just some creepy person at the end of the bed for some reason. And if it's actually there and something happened to this experiencer when they blacked out afterwards, there's a concern there. There's a safety concern. It's likely that this experiencer fell asleep. However, there's not enough evidence to determine that, right? So we have to, and when you're working with supporting experiencers, we have to look at the facts. And I can't tell this experiencer what this is. I try to help and determine what it isn't, if I can. And then the left is just speculation. So if it's a vampire, well, it doesn't really, we don't see the mouth, in these individual pictures. So I'm not quite sure I would buy into the vampire, but I mean, you do see some vampires that have no hair and pointy ears. So I can understand where that comes from. And of course, ghosts. I don't think I buy into the ghost theory because it is a full body. There's no transparency here. So I don't think I would. I personally would consider it more of a humanoid, normal thing. Extraterrestrial or vampire, maybe. Those are reaches. But, a human being is kind of essentially where I'm at. But then how did they get in the room, right? And if it's in the mind, then we got to really dig into that one. So continuing on, science writer Sharon A. Hill was unable to find any documentation of black-eyed children encounters, concluding that the tales are passed on as friend of a friend ghost stories. Hill considers the legend to resemble typical spooky folklore stories such as Phantom Black Dog. So the black dog is a supernatural, spectral, or demonic hellhound originating from English folklore that has also been seen throughout Europe and the Americas. It is usually naturally large with glowing red or yellow eyes. It is often connected with the devil, and that's where it cuts off. So that's a good, got the point there. So it's definitely not a dog, according to these drawings here. Where the subject is not supernatural, and there may never have been an actual original encounter. So that's possible. Snopes rates Tales of the Black-Eyed Children as a legend and cites an Inquisitor article that advises readers to file the Black-Eyed Children under the same heading as Bigfoot. That's interesting. Bigfoot looks a lot different. I'm wearing a shirt that has a picture of Bigfoot on it and a mosaic type thing. That looks significantly different than what we're looking at. I don't agree with that. Believe it if you like, but realize that there is no evidence of their existence, just subjective testimony that ranges from reasonable suspicious fame. Oh, I don't think I can say that word. I had no idea that was a word. For those of you on the screen, you can read that. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom into this word. This is my new word that I'm going to say. This new word I'm going to say. Okay. So consider the source. This is Wikipedia. Okay. It's controlled and all these other things too, but there's enough references here if you want to do some further reading. So even though this dismisses the possibility of it, we need to take in consideration that the experiencer has experienced something. Okay. Is this being the black-eyed children? It's close. Is it and just because she has this experience, does that mean that this phenomenon is real? And because this person couldn't find anything to say that it isn't real, that it is real, doesn't actually prove that it's not real. So there's an all or nothing statement and thing that's going on here. And the only way we can really hit the nail on the head in this is if more people report what they saw, and if it looks similar to that. So if you're one of those people, please make a report, because the more evidence we have, the more we can compare and contrast in situations like this. I can only work with what I got and what's been provided to me. Okay, I'd like to look into that one a little further. So let me see if I can find other concept images of this black-eyed children here. Any questions so far? Anybody in here? All right. So yeah, here's a few other things. Oh yeah, Children of Corn. So maybe there's some legend behind that, right? But where does a legend come from? Someone had to experience something, or they deliberately were just like, you know what, I have this idea and I'm going to try and sell this for fame, and things like this. 9 terrifying encounters with black-eyed children. That image looks interesting. Oh, this is no. See, we can't use that because. Oh no, here we go. Look at that. Very interesting. If that's an actual image, I don't have time to fact check that here. That's pretty interesting. But all these smudges and all these things here, I don't know. That would look like it's Photoshop. Let me see. Can I save the image? Let me save the image in my downloads. So here's another thing. Might as well use this as an example here. Let me just check my folder here. Make sure I don't have anything confidential on my folder that I need to share with you, or lack thereof. Okay, downloads. Yeah, okay. So if you also go on to the website, go into investigations and research and investigation tools. We're going to be looking for a tool called photo forensics, because I can do this really quick if I have it on here. If not, I'll find it. Yeah, photo forensics. So this link right here. This is one that gets used quite a lot. Okay, image. And what we're going to do with this image here is we'll just upload that original image. And then we can get an idea of whether or not this has been pixelated. So hidden pixels. So see here, this is what this is. So let me zoom in here. So what this is showing me right off the bat without reading it is that it's been edited. All these extra things there have been added. Okay, then we get metadata, of course. This tells us some stuff and sources and whatnot too. But then you can get into, this is just a quick explanation here on how things work. So here, how the image can appear, Adobe. We're also looking for tags here. No JPEG, lossy, metadata strings. But yeah. Anyways, I'm going to rule that that's a fake picture, and that's kind of how I do a quick check before I move on. You can learn more about those tools on the research and investigation thing. I'm going to put that link in the comments here for you guys if you decide to use that on your own. Okay. If there's some better tool that you want to use, let us know, and we'll add it to the list. Those of you following Mick West, that's his SitRec device right there. It's a pretty cool tool. I really like using that. Shout out to him. Okay, so moving on. We don't really have enough evidence to go on to that, but I want to talk more about the other things that this person had explained or guessed what it appeared to be like. Because if you don't know what it looks like, then what you want to do is compare it to the closest thing that you think it might be. So on this one here, this female, she had mentioned something about fae or pixies, I think she said. So let's look at that. Okay. Blonde hair, messy hair, camel color. Camel. I think that meant camo. Color pajamas, long johns. Barefoot, big round eyes, long nose. Yeah, pixie girl. Okay, so let's look up a pixie girl. Pixie girl. Okay, so like we're looking at fairies. So, you know, obviously this is Hollywood. Real. Let's see if we can get something like that. Nope. Right. Yeah, it's having a hard time finding a recreation, but I mean, it could be part of, you know, that fairy type category, but that's an assumption based on the hair, I would assume. Okay. Forest nymph. I don't know what that sounds. That sounds interesting. Forest nymph. Let me see here. Okay, so more, you know, still into the fairies. I don't know. I don't know if I see that in that. I mean, it could be with the hair and things like that, but is it wearing camo pajamas? Because if it's camo, then it's military, right? But if it's a forest nymph that she is referencing, this also gives me an idea. We do have some greens and browns and stuff like that too, and these all come from legends, right? So you can't, you know, then you got to look into these legends and find out the origins. And if you believe in these legends, then you know all these other things come true. But that's how our mind gets all all into this stuff. So end of the day, we can only agree that a being was observed that has 2 feet, and that is humanoid. You can call it a ghost, you can call it an extraterrestrial, you can call it a black-eyed child if you want, you can call it a nymph, you can call it a fairy, you can call it a pixie girl, you call it whatever you need to call it. That's your belief. Okay? I want you to understand the difference between your belief, faith, and fact. No matter what you believe it to be, we all should agree that a being was observed. And that's what we need to compare, because some of these beings might be human, some of these beings might be animals, some of these beings might be extraterrestrials once we get into these beings. Okay. Lisa says, I have 2 spy cameras in my room. Hope I get something interesting. That would be interesting. And that's something I've always wanted to talk about too, Lisa. And anybody who has ever experienced a paranormal or extraterrestrial abduction or visitation. Just trying to find my thing here. If you are a multiple experiencer and this stuff happens to you on a regular basis, like Lisa says, she has 2 spy cameras in her room. That's a very good tactic. And I'm sure she's heard me many times say, put a camera in the room. Wear a camera on you, right? Because if you're being brought into these ships, maybe they're going to take that, you're going to get some evidence. But even when you do that, if you don't actually capture anything, but you see it in your mind or you still experience it, don't jump to the conclusion that the technology failed. This might be a consciousness experience, which means it's happening in your head. And because it's happening in your head doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just gives us an idea of where to find it. Because then you do some meditation, and then you do what's called an invited approach, where you're intentionally channeling this to get more information. Okay? If you're looking for a physical thing, then you need to see it in the physical. So, Lisa, this is a great idea to try and capture evidence in the physical. To capture the evidence in the 4th dimension and above, we still need to get these drawings. Okay? We talked about it last week when you said you were done with writing books and done with reports. I still want to encourage you to make reports, because you will help me and others with our research and fully understand what you see and what others might see. Right now, I only have 2 of the same black-eyed children. So this experiencer on their own it's a weak case until somebody else makes a report and we can compare and contrast that. So this is a good baseline. Okay. As soon as I say, snap heads, look at me and just eyes. I have to look at the notes to see whether or not alcohol was involved or medicine at night. Like, some people take certain medication to get to sleep at night. Have some weed, drink some beers, even common things to help you relax. A little light sedative and things like that. Sometimes that happens. And if you wake up in the middle of that in your REM state, you are going to see some things, and stuff in your day is going to carry through that. And on the skeptical side of things, we can say that, but we can't prove that. So while you're being skeptical, you also need to accept the possibility, unless you can prove without a doubt that this is happening. And what I can prove without a doubt at this point is that this experiencer is encountering something that does not look normal. And that's it. But the main thing with this case, as I recall, it was positive. They're not being harmed. They're not being hurt. There's no injuries. It's likely to be a dream. It hasn't happened again, at least not because they haven't reported. I don't know that. So these are all things to take in consideration. I will believe you that you've had an experience. And this is where I get into that place where I may not believe in everything in that you see what exactly you saw. And that's where more ears, more reports, more things. And again, because I rebranded my books once I finished the UFO crap and put that to bed, because I'm pretty sure it's just government machines. Then I can start working on my experiencer books as well, when I can really study and get into the details and test and theorize, because I'm an experiencer myself. I've had my own experience. So that is on the psychogenic side of things, of the mind. I don't know if I even talked about that on this program yet, but it's a little too soon to get into that. But this is my experience. If you guys are interested in that. And prior to this experience, I had no idea that there was a dimension beyond the third. I could not comprehend fact for something I couldn't physically touch. But since then, I've been able to, trust and verify and confirm and all these other things. Okay, so where are we at? We have 14 minutes left. Lisa, I think you said something else here. They're small. I could hide them so they can't be seen. Well, that's good. Yeah, hide them. That's good. It's your bedroom. You do whatever you want, right? Depending on if you'd like, Lisa, because you can get a hold of me on the many ways that you do. Send me the link of what you purchased, and I might be able to recommend, I guess, placement depending on what categories, depending on what they are. Hiding them. It'd be interesting to see what happens. If you capture something, that's the golden ticket. I feel like it's too easy to capture something. The reason why I'm asking you to do this is because my hunch is this is happening in your mind. But that doesn't mean that you're mental. It just means you have a connection to some sort of consciousness and you're picking up visions from some place, present, future, past. That is debatable. You're able to draw this information. Is it imagination? It could be. But from all of the experiences that we have over the past and all these other things, we got to be careful with them. If they're actual human beings, like the men in black working for the government and things like that, hiding them is a great strategy. Telling me you're hiding them is not a good strategy because everyone is listening. There's 50,000 people listening right now, and I bet your bottom dollar at least one of them is the CIA. So keep that to yourself, all right? Don't tell anybody just like I don't tell anybody where my archives are, in case, they come here and try and take everything. But the things that I got, they gave to me anyway, so it would be kind of redundant for Canada to come here and raid my place after the only stuff I'm sitting on is the stuff they gave me. Seems kind of redundant at that point. Okay, well, if you keep the comments going, Lisa, I'll just chat with you till the end. Anybody else want to say something? Chris, you want to say hello? Tell me why you're watching the show not working. Just kidding. Probably on break. It's okay. Shout out to Chris though. He's working. He's working pretty hard today, and I got him to send me a reminder today because I was pretty stressed and I thought I might miss this. Okay, so Lisa says, my mom's seen things sometime. I'm seeing them. Yes, your mom, and then we get into the genetic part where perhaps because your mom has the sight that you might have the sight. Lisa, I do recall you have children as well, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think we had a conversation about it's possible that your children are seeing stuff too. My child is like picking up on things because she hasn't been programmed yet through school. We've been doing really hard, trying really hard to let her learn the education as it's been mandated, but at the same time correcting her and giving her possible scenarios so that way by the time she's old enough to have her thoughts of her own, or choices of her own rather, she can look at the facts on either side and make a decision for herself because it's still an opinion. We're going to have a really hard time when we get into space and geography and talking about the shape of the earth because if you think this guy's going to do a solar system with these big giant balls, you can forget it. All right. So we might be able to do 2 or something, and things like that. All right. So Lisa says, I will write more reports. I just took a break from it for a while, but I have been writing my experiences in my journal. Good. As long as you're documenting it, and that's journaling is good for you too. It will help you process everything. And Lisa says, my oldest son seen the MIB in my home in Winnipeg. Interesting. Now, the men in black or women in black, people in black, persons in black, I don't know what you want to say. And these day and ages here, trying to cover everything so no one's offended. Whatever this organization is, that's got these government vibes to me. Are they extraterrestrial? Are we extraterrestrial? You want to get into ancient astronaut theory? We don't have time. We got 9 minutes. But you know, all these things are possible. In the end, does it affect your life? Does it matter? Are you in harm? Are you in danger? Because do you have PTSD? Do you have trauma? I can investigate this and talk like this and explain it away. It's really easy to challenge it, but then you're going to feel, you're going to have your own judgments on yourself, and we want to avoid that. So we circle back to Experiencers Anonymous, which is going to happen at the end of August. We will get the announcement soon. I just got to wait for this painting project to finish. And get these people out of here because they're driving me nuts. They're completely, management is just inadequate. And it's driving me bonkers. So once we get that launched and announced, Experiencers Anonymous will be a place where you could sign up and be anonymous. If you want, it'll be a media link. I think we're going to do Zoom like we did before. You won't get the link unless you sign up. And it's almost like a group therapy if you look at it from a therapeutic perspective, psychotherapy. There's programs called DBT, right, which is group therapy where you learn skills and how to cope with certain issues. Like I have a manual actually right here on my desktop, and that's only because this is where I'm at in my journey for distress tolerance. But in this, right, you learn skills on how to deal with stress. I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I'm just simply sharing the literature that was shared with me to give you an example of how, with any trauma, like DBT, stop skills, pros and cons, and things like that. Yeah, stop skills, pretty cool. But with any trauma, the DBT program is a way for people to share what they want to share and not be judged on everything that they've done. I've just got to find my window here. I think I closed it. So let me bring this window back over here. Sorry, one second. I'm talking too much. So with this Experiencers Anonymous, we have an actual registered psychotherapist that is now going to participate in this group. What she's going to do has not been determined. We're going to do a couple of these to set the pace. She's going to get familiar. She's going to give us feedback, and we'll add resources to the Experiencer resources page. She'll provide suggestions and things like that, but she really needs to get an understanding of these experiencers. She's also going to help me with investigations, because if I have something go on, I need to rule out if I suspect markers of a mental illness. I'm going to need a professional to tell me that yes, a mental illness exists, but more importantly, that mental illness does not affect the credibility of their statement. And that's huge. okay? Because the skeptics will automatically say they're mentally ill. I'm diagnosed with PTSD from my time in the Army. I'm diagnosed, with that comes depression, anxiety, anger. There's so many things that comes and goes depending on what's going on, but I got that label. So even if I were to say something, they can easily come back to that label and use that against me for my judge of character. As long as I have good evidence and I have all these things and all these other things and blah, 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 then it doesn't matter if I have a picture that proves that this person did something. You can't use my mental illness as a excuse to get away with something. Okay, so Experiencers Anonymous is going to kind of help dive with that. It's been a very sensitive place with stuff, but I'm so glad that we actually have a mental health person on board, and I'm interested in seeing where this goes. So you can sign up now. I do believe that's going to just send you an email, bring us to your email. Yeah, it just opens up the email. So you can sign up and let us know that you're interested in that, because then we're going to email you first, okay, before we send it out to the public to sign up. It's going to be limited because we want to give enough space to each person to talk and share their experiences. And if we need to do more than one a month, then we'll do that later once Susan gets her bearings. And speaking of Susan, we might as well go to the team, talk about her for a few minutes, and then I'm closing the show. Then I guess I'll have to do those other UFO cases next week. Okay, so Susan Dismore has been practicing psychotherapist for the better part of 30 years. She specializes in working with individuals seeking to better understand themselves and foster deeper connections in their relationships. Many people find themselves excelling in certain areas of life while still feeling alone, discontent, and disconnected. Susan focuses on people's needs and choices, respecting each person's life stories and desires for change. She believes every individual is capable of reaching their full potential and living healthy, fulfilling life. And the best part about that is she also believes in the possibility of extraterrestrial and supernatural existence. And that is huge, because a lot of people do not want to risk losing their license and dabble into that. So it's going to be, this is huge. This is huge. All right. As always, kids, if you guys are interested to support my work, please go to Patreon. Patreon.com/heedtheworld. Pick one of these tiers, support. Not working. It's there. Trust me. It's got to load. I'm running out of time, so I got to end this show. I got to end this tea party here. So where are we at here? Let me get set up. Report. I'm on the radio and stuff. Here we go. All right. Thank you for tuning in for this. What the heck is going on? My screen is going bonkers. All right, UPRN radio. All the networks. I'm making this up off the cuff. You got to check us out on the radio. I apologize. My script just kind of left. My screen is frozen, and I got to find some way to end this show so I'm on time. I might have to just, hit the reset button on this computer, and hopefully it turns it off. I have no idea why that happened. That sucks. Come on, mouse. Let's go. Don't film now. Okay, got my mouse back. Okay, don't have my thing. So anyways, thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky, everybody. Technical difficulties. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time to catch Danny Whitson and his guest tomorrow for Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Okay, keep your eyes in the sky and heed the world. And remember that one lie is enough to question all truths. Heed the world. Peace.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow!
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused
If you
it?
want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richarddolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.